Hello, welcome back to the Evergreen Rx. I'm your host, Hayden, licensed mental health therapist, Cancer Moon, and the first to get deep at any party. And for any of you guys watching, I'm sorry if I'm giving a little bit bald today. My hair has grown out so much, but my hairdresser is booked out, and I'm so uninspired by what's going on with all this. So hopefully you can see my head's gonna be whipping around side to side so you can see my ponytail. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of my podcast. If you did not hear already, we're mixing things up. We're answering listener questions now as a way to learn together, but we're gonna deep dive, go specific to relate broadly. You know what I'm saying? We have the toolbox. You guys are all probably well, I'm not following because I'm not following either. But basically what's happening now is on my 4th season of this beloved podcast of mine, I've done a lot of episodes. I've had a lot of guests. We've talked about a lot of topics, a lot of things in the wellness space, a lot of things that I think are really important to living well. And so I kind of got a toolbox set up, or I like to think of it as a pantry, an ingredients list, the compounds needed to make medications. We have a lot of the components, and now we're putting them together through specific listener questions. Okay, I got there. That made sense, right? Okay. So I'm really excited to be pivoting in this direction. And if you want to hear your question answered in a future episode, please reach out. Email me at theevergreenrx@gmail.com, or you can text or call my hotline and hit me with your question. If it was a voicemail, I would love to play your little cute voicemail if you give me permission to do that. So let me know what you're needing some help on, and if you want to remain anonymous, or if you'd be willing to kind of be involved. So yeah, before we jump into the question, just my disclaimer, these are just my opinions. I don't have all the facts. I don't have all the information. This doesn't constitute or take the place of individual therapy, guys. This is not therapy. This might be helpful. It is not therapy. This is the Evergreen Apothecary. That's what this is. So that means we're all working together. We're figuring things out. We're here to try things on, to do our best, to create our own prescription for living well, which means it's nuanced, it's fluid, it's personally aligned, it's always customizable and individual. And I give myself this permission too. I'm trying things out. I'm doing my best. Sometimes I'm going to give fantastic advice. Sometimes I might say something that you're like, what the fuck? And you just leave it. Take what you want, leave what doesn't work for you. Okay? Cool. I hear the doorbell. Sounds like we have an inquiry into the Evergreen Apothecary. Okay. I don't think I loved that, but Dear Evergreen, I've always considered myself a creative person. As a kid, I wrote stories constantly, filled sketchbooks, and daydreamed about doing something artistic when I grew up. But now at 30, I work in corporate marketing, writing copy ad about products I don't care about. It pays well, I have good benefits, and my coworkers are nice, but I feel like I've completely abandoned the part of myself that actually felt things. Oof. Yeah, okay. A few months ago, I tried picking up painting again, but every time I sat down with a brush, I felt this huge wave of self-doubt. What's the point? I'm not a real artist. No one's waiting for my work. I don't even know where to start. When I scroll through social media, it feels like everyone else is already miles ahead of me. I want to believe that it's not too late for me, but I don't know how to shake the feeling that I've wasted too much time. How do I let myself be a beginner again without constantly comparing myself to others? Babe. Oh my God, is this relatable, right? We're hearing about imposter syndrome, which I know well, comparison, toxic productivity. I think those are the two main pillars, the two legs of this question is the comparison and the toxic productivity. So yeah, one, to just start with this feeling like you've abandoned the part of yourself that actually felt things. I love that off of this feeling, you jumped into a hobby, a passion, something that really resonated with you as a kid and you're pursuing getting back into that. I think that's such a wonderful way to reconnect with yourself. I have a old mini dose about how to make yourself more interesting where I talk about hobbies. I talk about exactly this, being a beginner, starting something new, doing something that used to make you feel joy as a kid. And so I think this is a really great direction that you're moving in. And we're just hitting some roadblocks, which is understandable because you're up against some formidable obstacles. For one, imposter syndrome is fucking awful. I felt horrible imposter syndrome. Okay, I felt it beginning as a therapist, but really it was about half a year to a year in. It hit me full force, girl, and my anxiety was awful. So I know how formidable this can be. You know, even while your job in corporate marketing isn't fulfilling you, maybe you feel like you have some like expertise there now, or you've been doing it long enough that you're like, okay, at least I know what I'm doing. It's like soul sucking, but I know what I'm doing. Versus getting back into painting, it can feel like starting all over and being like, oh my God, I'm so out of my depth. Everyone on social media is killing it and looks like they learned in 2 weeks. And you know, I tried to paint a penguin and it's ugly as fuck. And like, you know, what am I doing? And that is such a painful feeling and is so demoralizing, just makes you want to quit and or just not even get started in the first place. And so I really hear that in what you're saying. Like, you know, what even is the point? No one's waiting for my work. So my point with all of this is I think this is a good moment to think about your priorities, your values, and like what is the purpose of creativity for you? You know, and we all would have different definitions, but is the point of getting back into painting so that it can become something that is profitable so that you can leave your corporate job? You know, I don't know. I don't hear that in this question, but maybe that's the thing. You want to leave the corporate job, so you need to make money off of it. So, okay, think about that's not going to happen overnight, you know? But if that is your priority, okay, one day you want people to be waiting on your work, and that's important, but it's not happening now because you're just getting back into it. So can we like bring in some patience or practice, you know, looking at people's actual timelines, not just like the social media, like abbreviated version of things, but actually like researching and reading, like how long did it take someone to become a paid artist? You know, somebody you look up to, really learning about their journey and their story. Because my guess is it took way longer than it seems. But if that's not your goal, and it doesn't have to be, because yeah, I think we can sometimes get in this mindset like, I need to make money off of this hobby or else it's not valuable, which is just the capitalistic kind of hustle culture that we're living in. But maybe that's not your goal. And you just want something that helps you feel things outside of work, that helps you connect more deeply to yourself and to these younger parts of yourself that really loved to be artistic and, you know, spend the afternoon getting lost in a painting and creating something just for the sake of creating it. So that's really different, right? Like, what does it matter if no one's waiting on your work? Is that why you're being creative? You know, is that the point? Is that your priority? So sometimes it can help to get specific with this stuff, just to understand if we're like climbing the right mountain. You know, when I think about my own imposter syndrome, one of the things that was really killing me is I was comparing myself to all the masters, the people that have been doing it for 25, 30, 40 years. Like, girl, reality check. You might want to get there one day. And to get there one day, it takes all these little steps that you're taking and you're showing up to sessions and you're trying your best and you're learning what works and what doesn't. But you can't just like snap your fingers and be there. And so that was a little bit of a reality check, but also thinking like, you know, am I even comparing myself to the right people or like aspiring to the right masters? Like, you know, is that me? Is that the mountain I want to be going up? Do I need to master CBT, or do I not care so much about, you know, being really skilled in that arena? Do I not care so much about being a skilled career counselor, but I'm more so working with trauma? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to really get specific on what it is, the battle that we're fighting or the battle that we want to be fighting, essentially, with this comparison and with this imposter syndrome. So, do you need to be following people that work in all different mediums of art? Maybe you only follow people that work in mediums of art that you don't. I could see that being helpful, just to be able to have a little bit of that space from constantly being bombarded with people that are further along in the journey than you are. But yeah, just getting specific in that way and knowing what it is that you value, so you can be sure that when you're combating these hard feelings, you're barking up the right tree, essentially. So, I hear the comment of like, I feel like I'm wasting too much time. It's too late for me. Like, what even is the point? And, my brain goes to like, isn't the point to like spend your days doing something? To feel or experience little wins? I talk about this all the time on this podcast. It's shocking how much I talk about it. But I practice piano, and I have been practicing for years now and taking lessons for years. And, like if you had said, 4 years from now, how good do you think you would be? I would have way overestimated how good I am. But I've gotten little wins along the way. And when I learn a new song, it's just as gratifying. Maybe it's like a level 3 on difficulty. But that doesn't really matter because it used to be impossible and now I can play it. Oh my God, that's a win. So just noticing what kind of productivity like level you're expecting from yourself, like how much time are you actually giving to this hobby, which is going to inform how, quickly you advance or your skills, accrue. But also, what is the concept of wasting time? It's so cliche, but I think if you really have this desire in your heart, or, you really know that you love painting and you want to connect back to it and it's something important for you, then there really is no time to waste besides continuing not to do it because you feel like you're not as far along as you should be by now. So, like from a mindfulness perspective, like the past is not something that you can change. And yeah, okay, whatever. It's easy for me to say that. It can be harder in practice, and we feel different things about that. But really, you do just have right now. And if right now it is important to you to have some kind of creative hobby, to bring yourself some type of feeling or joy outside of work, then it's a matter of choosing it, putting everything else aside, turning your phone off, and sitting down and giving it a shot. Something I heard from my brother actually, but he heard it on TikTok, and I'll have the original creator of this concept linked below. But this woman talked about the idea of cringe mountain. This concept has been talked about in a lot of different ways, but I really love cringe mountain because it's the idea that there's this, everybody's kind of at the foot of the mountain. Hasn't started yet. But once you start climbing the mountain, and it's hard and it's cringy, or you might look at the stuff you're creating and be like, this is so butt ugly. But once you get to a certain point, you start to descend into the land of cool. So this is in the concept of like doing something in the public eye. But I think the land of cool can also be seen as like the land of enjoyment, the land of pride, the land of like, oh my God, yes, finally, I can do this. Thank God. Thank past me that I practiced so much. So now I can actually do this. I think about my own life. I used to do a lot of hand lettering. And like calligraphy and stuff. And when I started, it looked so bad and it was so unnatural. And now I can do it almost as if it's like writing. It's so second nature. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you to past me that sat there and looked at my stuff and thought, this is so bad, and kept doing it anyway. Because that's the only way that current me has this skill that I can just whip out and be like, great, cool, done. So we can remember that sometimes, like we can stay in, you can stay in that crowd and not start, or you can throw those paintbrushes and paints away and just say, I'm too late. Or you can begin climbing up the mountain, and we're going to know it's going to be hard. But then at some point, you'll start to descend, and you'll be in a new place, and you'll have the opportunity to climb a new mountain. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I'm still really working this out. I feel like kind of that same nerves and trepidation that I felt when I first started this podcast. I mean, not as bad, thank God. It was awful when I started this podcast. Talk about cringe mountain, Jesus. But I'm figuring it out. I'm getting my little sea legs. So let me know what you think. I hope this was helpful. Please send me your questions at theevergreenrx@gmail.com or call or text me at 512-655-9888. And I would love to know what advice you would give this person. So hit me up, like maybe comment below my Instagram post about this episode, and just hit me with a comment on like, oh, I think this would be helpful, or I would do that. Because I'm sure there's things that I haven't even thought of. So I will look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, take care. All right. Bye.